Hello, people. Welcome to day two, and I believe day one was actually mind blowing. So, if you have not seen that video, do well to go see that video for yourself, and then you can come back to this video because it's actually a continuation of where we stopped the last time. So, today is day two. See you right in class. Welcome to day two of this 30-day challenge, and in this lesson, we're going to be looking at some basic formulas and how we can navigate our way around some basic calculation. So, without wasting too much of your time, let's dive into it. So, the first thing is here is a sales data, and if you wish to have access to this data set, you can go down to the description box below. You'll definitely see the link to download this data set, and you'll be ready for the class. So let's get started and let's see what we have for today. So the first thing is we have a sales data that includes order number, product category. We have the city, sales amount, um, quantity sold, and the month. Now the first thing I want us to do is this sales amount. We are going to take it as the unit price. So for example, for electronics, we don't know the kind of electronics, but let's just take it as any kind of electronic. It actually cost 54 USD, for instance, per unit. So this sales amount, I want us to rename it as unit amount. So unit amount. All right. So now we want to find out how much or unit price. Let's say unit price. So I want to find out how much with this amount to as total sale. So all I need to do is multiply this by the quantity sold. So if one will cost 54 USD, then three will cost 54 multiplied by 3. So definitely in Excel is so versatile to such an extent that you don't need a calculator. In fact, it's more than a calculator for you. So I don't need to carry calculator and start calculating this. All I need to do is just bring up my formula, and each time you are calling up a formula in Excel, you must always start with equal sign. So what I want to do is this multiplied by 3. So I'll put my asterisk as my multiplication sign, then select. You need to take note of the fact that I was not typing the figures. I didn't type the figures. Rather, I made reference to it, and that was deliberate. So instead of typing 54.008, then multiply by 3, of course, I'll still have the answer. But the implication is that I will have to do the same for each of the entries. But if we have a large data set, that is going to be more or less like mission impossible. So instead of doing that every now and then, what we do is to make reference to cell, then we can now apply it to other cells. So once I'm done with this, I'll just press my enter. Then there I go. I have my results. Now, having done for one, I don't have to do the same for the other one again like this. Nobody does this actually, so I don't need to do four. Because if you have like 1,000 entries or thereabouts, will I be doing for each of them? Like the answer is no. So once I do for one, there's something we call relative reference and absolute reference, and also mixed reference. Maybe at a later date we might come to that. So what we just need to do is just reference what we have done earlier. So how do we reference? I'll just bring my cursor to the edge. Once they show this cross sign, then left click and drag down, or just double click. And once double click, it will auto fill it downward. So whatever you carry out for the first one, you can see this is D2. I was talking about in the last class, I was talking about cell reference. So for this is cell D2. So you can see this is cell G2 rather, and this is D2 and E2. So you can see that for the first one, it was D2 multiplied by E2. For the next one, it was actually D3 multiplied by E3, and so on and so forth, because we have referenced the previous one. Now the next thing I want us to look at, the next formula I want us to look at is the sum. Now I want to sum the total amount realized from sales. So remember, this column actually signifies the total amount realized from sales of all of these product categories. So now I want to find out how much did we generate in all. So all I need to do is just to sum the whole entry. And of course, I'm not going to carry calculator to do this. All I need to do is just press my equal sign. Each time you are calling up a formula, you start with equal sign. You can see that it appears there, like we said in the other class. This is a formula bar. So whatever you are doing, we also apply. We also appear there. So equals then you can see auto sum right here. So auto sum will automatically pick all the entries that you have in that column, and then you're ready to sum. So once you can see that it has been highlighted automatically. So easily you get your sum, then press enter, and that's the sum. Two more functions, then we call this class a day. So then another function I want us to look at is the count function. It is possible that I want to count the number of entries, and based on certain condition. It's different from you just using serial number. I might want to find out, okay, how many non-zero entries do we have. So we need to also know how to use our count function. It can be useful in different genre. So once you master it, then you know the appropriate time to use. So the first one is I want to use, we have different categories of counts. Then I'll expose us to like two, and we call this class a day. So the first one is I want to count, use the normal count function. So now I want to count the number of entries that we have under unit price. So all I need to do is, you can see that there's a prompt, value 1, then value 2. Now once you click on value 1, all you need to do is press Ctrl Shift, then down to select the range. So automatically value 2 will appear. And if that marks the end, you can simply close your parentheses and press enter. And you can see that we have 100 entries in this particular column. The same count function that I used, I'm going to use it for this city column. So it's going to be count. All right. Then I'll start from the first one, Abuja. Ctrl Shift down to select all. Then close the parentheses and click enter. You can see that it's returning 0. Now the question is, I use count for this particular column. I arrive at the number of entries to be 100. Yet I use the same count for this column, it's showing me 0. The answer is simple. Instead of using count in this case, because this is string function, we have string functions in this particular column, it is non-numeric. That's why you are not getting any return, because count is basically for non-zero numbers. So if you are counting, then it has to be the numbers. But if you want to count string function like this, instead you can use the count a function. So we have count a, right? So count a is going to count non-blank cells. As long as there's anything in that cell, it will count it as part of the entry. Then once you do that, you are good to go. Another function that we can look at is the average. I can try to find the average of this. All I need to do is select the entries, then I'll be good to go. So I can say equals average. Let me just use average. We're not using average for now. Then select the first cell, Ctrl Shift down, then close the parentheses and click enter. Then we are good to go. And by default, even if you highlight the column, underneath here you see the sum, you see the count, and you also see the average. And by the time you compare it, you observe that you arrive at the same output. That'll be all for now, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.